Hey there, Patreon peeps. It's Friday. It's Fan Talk Friday. We are talking about Packers Bears.
Finally.
Yes, finally. The 100th season is about to begin. It's Packers Bears, the longest standing rivalry in the NFL. It doesn't get much better than that. Let us know who you are, where you're coming at me, us from, us. I'm used to saying me, and it's not. Right. It's us.
It's not a solo tour.
Yeah, Facebook will be building an audience for us. Guys, if you do not have a personal connection with me, Brady Augustine, you can make that. We will continue to announce this to make sure you guys get in on the Fan Talk Friday show. This is a patron-only show, and we see Tim is out there. Giselle is out there. Says, bring them on. Let's give some waves. This looks like fun. Why not? We're going to wave at all you guys. We're doing the wave, folks. Giselle's here, says, hi, guys. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. And it's good to know that the 2018 season, finally, for crying out loud, is upon us. Sunday night, Packers versus Bears.
I feel like we've been waiting for this so long, mostly because I feel like we started waiting for this season when Aaron went down.
Yep, it's been a long freaking haul. But it's Fan Talk Friday. If you guys have a comment or a question or something, a topic you want to talk about, we will be happy to go ahead and do that. We've got a couple people on. We've got 22 people invited out of our 40-some patrons. And we do, first of all, just want to thank you guys for making the live shows we do possible, and all your support and partnering with us to talk about the Green Bay Packers. So let's get this show on the road because, not only, this isn't just Packers Bears, but this is the beginning of the season. So I think you and I owe it to our fans to go through this season and put down our predictions, lay them down on paper. So are you ready to do that? I mean, are you okay
not
with
remotely,
it? No,
but we'll try it anyhow.
Yeah, we'll do it anyway, right?
Haven't seen a snap in the 2018 season, but
seen it
we'll give it a shot.
I know, and that's the thing is, guys, it's all speculation, and of course, anything that we saw last year, this is a team last season we would expect to have double-digit wins for sure. We didn't end up even making it to 10 wins. Yeah, and then that 10-win cutoff, we didn't even get there. And of course, we know why that happened. So again, this team right now, knock on wood, is looking fairly healthy, hopefully rolling into, although we did get word right now Josh Jones is out for this game. Right. He is not going to play, which again, with the inside linebacker situation and Oren Burks, who we just drafted in this, the 2018 draft, that could be significant. I mean, our inside linebacker situation, obviously Blake Martinez.
We're kind of thin.
Our linebackers overall. We didn't keep as many outside linebackers either. No more Vince Beagle, guys. I mean, there's a lot of no Martini, no Ahmad Thomas. Just very, very strange. But, this is a Packers organization that's happy to move on with the guys they got. All right, so let's talk overall. And you guys feel free to throw up your season predictions. This is overall season predictions, and then we'll move into Packers-Bears predictions. Of course, we know week one, a couple days, we're playing the Bears. This is at Lambeau Field. In division, what do you got on the Packers? What's your line on the Packers-Bears?
Well, I think there's been a lot of talk about Mac's arrival on the Bears and how it's going to take the Bears' defense to another level, which is a problem for the Packers because the Bears' defense was already pretty good.
Pretty good.
But I think a lot of times when people are talking about Mac's addition to the Bears and how great a threat he is as an edge rusher, they forget that we have arguably two of the best tackles in the NFL. Yeah. So Brian Bulaga and Bakhtiari, doesn't really matter where they line Mac up. I'm confident that those guys will handle Mac. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Mac gets a sack in, but I don't really expect him to be constantly pressuring Aaron Rodgers so dramatically that Aaron can't make connections. So I expect that our offense will function pretty much like we expect our offense to function against the Bears. They may come out of the gates kind of rusty because they've not had many reps in preseason games as they may have had in previous seasons, but.
Yeah, last year we were decimated with injuries. We saw problems out of the gate on the offensive line. This year, with Bulaga back, he has not taken a lot. He has not been on the field that much.
And coming off an injury.
Yeah, but facing Khalil Mack has not even hit. Khalil Mack has not even been in the training camp, the OTAs, things like this. His body is really not ready for this. I would expect him to be on a pitch count. Like Aaron Rodgers said, you expect the Bears to use him as much as they can. I mean, as much as he can be on the field. But you also, if you just sign Khalil Mack to this, 5-year deal plus his 5th-year option, the last thing you want is for him to come out on the field in the first game of his Chicago Bears career, tweak a hammy, and be hampered for the entire rest of the season and struggling to try to get back healthy.
And despite the fact that he's a veteran, he still has a playbook to learn. And he'll catch on to it quickly, but there might be some things that the Bears can't do because he just doesn't have the entire playbook.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Bears, you probably you've got Khalil Mack on that, probably that left side. You see Brian Bulaga. Brian Bulaga is as good as a right tackle when healthy as it gets, but we also have McCray at right guard, and you would want to probably be crashing the inside a little bit, maybe put a little pressure, do some twists, but that's the part of the scheme that Khalil Mack may not be quite ready to handle with the verbiage and things like that. They may not be able to use him in all the ways that they will in our second meeting, which down the road in Chicago, that may be a different story. But I do think, Khalil Mack. And the thing is, you can, with Floyd, it looks like he's going to play, but it also looks like he's going to be wearing a club. Our running game can loosen these guys up pretty fast because we have an opportunity to run off that left edge and with Jamal Williams, Ty Montgomery, and get some things going. So anyway, we're not getting into game. I'm getting into game plan. We're getting into the scheme now. Yeah. The point is, you got to win for the Packers or a loss for the Packers.
I would say that the Packers are going to take a win in this. It might be close early on as they kind of shake off some of the rust. But I see down the stretch they'll just pull away from the Bears and end with a win.
Okay, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Packers, I've got a win too on that one. I've got the Packers beating the Bears at home. Minnesota Vikings, week 2. This is the current NFC North champions. They're in the driver's seat, and Packers have to take them on week 2.
Our current most biggest threat, I guess.
Biggest threat, yeah, for sure. And no Aaron Jones again. This will be the second suspension game. No Aaron Jones against the Minnesota Vikings. What do you got there?
I think they take home a win on this, specifically because it's at home. If this was in Minnesota, this might be a different game. But I've got them tagged as 2 wins out of the gates against their probably their biggest NFC North rivals.
Yeah, I've got a win on this one too. I tend to, in the NFC North, I tend to lean toward a split, generally speaking. And at Lambeau Field, I think with Jimmy Graham having a game under his belt, and I think that and again, I think the interior line of the Green Bay Packers is going to be pretty good this year, and I think Kirk Cousins is in for a shocker week 2. So I've got the Packers in that one, which again, if you guys know the schedule, the Packers, in terms of win percentage last year for teams, they've got the most difficult schedule in the league right now. They have the number 1. We are seeing, as we go through these teams, we've seen how much has changed. The Vikings expect to be better, but a lot of people are really not convinced that Kirk Cousins makes the Minnesota Vikings that much better. Cousins has struggled a little bit in the preseason. Now let's move on to week 3 against Washington. You got the Packers winning this one or losing?
When we were discussing the schedule earlier, I actually feel like this is a 3-loss team, but I couldn't come up with 3 losses. I think this one might be their 3rd loss in my books. Yes, they come off the 2 big games at Lambeau against division rivals. They're sitting on top of the NFC North, and they got to go to Washington, and they may lay an egg.
So you're talking trap game, probably.
That's what I would say.
Okay,
yeah.
So you got a loss there?
I have a loss with Washington.
All right, I've got a win against Washington. Tim is mentioning, too, been watching some old Oakland games. In my opinion, Mac is very overrated. If you haven't seen the Go Deep video blog we did, we went through the O-line rankings that Khalil Mack had success against, how many sacks he had against last season. They faced 5 that were top 10 offensive lines. He didn't have much success against those. But then you look at in division, there were some really bad. Actually, the Oakland Raiders have the best offensive line in the AFC West, and so he obviously didn't have to play them, and he didn't have much success. And he was playing teams with O-lines downranked as from the 26 to the 30 down there, the 20s and 30s, and then he would have that one or maybe a couple sacks a game. But again, this is an Aaron Rodgers-led team, and I think Giselle mentioned too. We can scheme to deal with Khalil Mack. I honestly think, and again, we're getting back into, I don't want to slip into, but I honestly think that one of the biggest mistakes, thumbs up if you agree, I think one of the biggest mistakes we can make is to scheme too much Khalil Mack. People have asked the question, what is the best way to stop Khalil Mack? Is it bring a tight end over it? Is it to run through it? Is it to throw over it? You want to know what the best way to stop Khalil Mack is? Is for Brian Bulaga to stop Khalil Mack.
Exactly.
And then
block him.
Exactly. Block him. And no one makes the answer to the question. The answer to the question is not to have to give help to the guys up front, and then we are going to be absolutely fine. So, and Tim, I'm glad you watched that. But yeah, I mean, so at any rate, we're getting back to the Khalil Mack. It's hard not to. So I've got a win against Washington. Buffalo Bills. This is a good team now. This isn't a joke of a team, but now no Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not a joke of a team, but it's also a team that still, I think, is searching for their identity at the quarterback position. I don't see them walking into Lambeau Field and chalking up a win. I think this is a win for the Packers.
Yeah, I've got a win there too. How about at Detroit? Now, so we pick up Detroit at Detroit first.
At Detroit, I think that gives Detroit a bit of an advantage, but I just don't think the team is strong enough to stop us.
Detroit is a little bit at Detroit. They always seem to play pretty well there. Matt Stafford, I mean, cut it however you want. He's a good quarterback. They've got they got Patricia new head coach. They've tried to shore up. They're going to have a good offensive line. But I still just don't see the Detroit Lions having enough. I don't see, as long as the thing that would throw a wrench into that to me is like a major injury. Well, I'm not going to sit here and try and predict major injuries at this point. Packers over the Lions at Detroit, week 5. How about week 6? San Francisco 49ers, again, they've got kind of a new lease on life. And what do you have with the 49ers?
Well, again, it's at Lambeau Field, so I've got to chalk up a win on this. I don't think Garoppolo has enough. If Pettine's defense is anything close to what we kind of expect Pettine's defense to be, the whole smoke and mirrors thing, Garoppolo will not handle that kind of pressure. So I got a win there.
Yeah, and I think the 49ers did well by themselves to pick up Garoppolo after the Colin Kaepernick back in the news again with his ad last night. But I think they did well for themselves, but I don't see them having enough to beat the Green Bay Packers right now as it stands. I've got a win for the Packers in that one. Okay, so we got
a week 7 bye week.
I guarantee
Thank
we
goodness
don't
it's
lose.
not a week 4 bye week.
Which, by the way, guys, and I know those of you that watch the Go Deep podcast, the Bears, they have an early bye this week as well. They're going to have to ride out a lot of the season real early. But that does give them a chance to catch Khalil Mack up, too, if there's any issues
Yeah, right,
there. So,
true.
All right. LA Rams at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, the tiny little place. I kind of like that, and I think McQuaid might actually be going to that game. Either that, or maybe he went to the Raiders game this year. He's out in San Diego. So, what do you got on the LA Rams?
If that game is at Lambeau, I think that's a very close game. At the Rams Stadium, I don't think we pull out a win there. I think that's a loss for us.
Big time travel time. I mean, you've got to realistically look at teams that could beat the Packers on the schedule. This is a very tough schedule supposedly, but now you look at some of these teams. I honestly think the Bears are one of the tougher teams now because they're in division and with the moves that they've made. But the LA Rams are another one now. Adding in Ndamukong Suh, that's going to be a tough one. And hey, the weather's going to be great. Aaron Rodgers is going to be right in his elements, right in his home, state, whatever.
Sure.
But I've got to put that one as a loss now. So we're both agreed on that one. Now we come back.
If that one ends up a win, I will be seriously impressed with this team.
I think it's a touchstone game that may be a watershed game. There are other games in here. Obviously the 2 Minnesota games are important, but that game where we travel all the way to the West Coast. If we do and Tim says the Rams scare me, they're going to have a really good defense. And again, part of what you're trying to hedge your bet is you just don't, by then injuries are going to start taking shape. You're going to have a team that's not quite the same as you began the season with. But you're right, I think. If we do pull one out against the Rams, I think Packer Nation is going to be going, and start eyeballing. We as fans, we can look ahead. So we might start looking ahead if that happens. Now, we go from there, in a week, we got to go all the way back across the country to Gillette Stadium, in Foxborough and take on the New England Patriots. What do you got there? What's your read on them?
I think that this is the year that...
Wave it, Dave.
There you go.
At it, so.
I think this is the year that that Green Bay finally makes a statement that we are a better team than the Patriots. I think this is maybe the time where the Patriots' time in the sun starts to fade, and I think we take home a win, even though we're at Foxborough.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I tend to look at the New England Patriots. You always expect them to be, the way they comport themselves, you expect them to be a good team every year, kind of regardless. They've been able to do really, really good things. You can't take away from them the accomplishments that they've been able to, Bill Belichick has been able to accomplish, regardless of who's flowed in, out, the trades they've made, the people that they set, the good players that they let walk. But that said, this year I think what we're hearing is, Patriot players they're kind of getting tired of the shtick. And when the shtick starts to run its course at some point, I think things start to get really shady. Tom Brady he's a 5-gallon bucket quarterback. I mean, you could put a 5-gallon bucket, he could step in it, and he will throw from there, and he'll do very well. He'll get the ball out fast, but he is not going to run. He's not going to scramble. He has no threat whatsoever. He juked out Brian Urlacher one time in his life, but that's it, And then, their defense, they've lost, some players, and they've got, Amendola that's suspended. I mean, they've got issues. Of course, that probably won't play in Week 9. But I've got the Packers winning this one. And I think we could win handily. Now, here's the thing, just a caveat on the New England Patriots, because you talked about kind of a changing of the guard, perhaps. Of course, that requires the Packers to not just go to, but win Super Bowls. I mean, we have to win Super Bowls for that to change. But I do think if our defensive interior line, does anybody have a thumbs up for like Mike Daniels, Mo Wilkerson, Kenny Clark just beating the living tar out of Tom Brady?
That would be fun.
We talked about, the important, Pettin mentioned this too, the importance of interior pressure.
Oh, yeah.
And especially against elite quarterbacks who are making their reads so much faster. They're at a different level. Tom Brady, we've seen the Texans do this. Tom Brady can be shaken up when necessary. And if we can get that internal pressure, that interior D-line going, we could shake Tom Brady up and see what happens there. I've got us beating the Patriots as well. I don't think that's going to be an easy one, but I do think we pull that one out, even though we have to travel. All right, how about Miami? This is at Lambeau. We play Miami at Lambeau this time around.
Miami at Lambeau, I see virtually no way Miami wins that game. That's a win for the Packers.
Same here. And I think that's enough said on that one. Now, we could talk about it, but again, they're not a threat to us. At Seattle. My phone is ringing.
At Seattle, I think there is something to be said about the stadium and the volume and the 12th man. But I don't think Russell Wilson is quite as good as he has been. It's like he's peaked and is kind of now on a bit of a downturn. Also, the Legion of Boom has kind of
defunct. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think even though the stadium itself lends itself to a very real home field advantage, I think that the Packers take home a win in that game.
Yeah, I agree. That is one of those games. You kind of, again, you don't want to be just a homer and you're looking for games that the Packers could legitimately lose. This is one of those, I still think, at CenturyLink. We've always kind of had, if they were playing at Lambeau, we kind of have their number. When they're playing, when we're playing out there, hey man, how you doing? We got another guy from Wisconsin, and we're not going to turn, put you on camera or anything, but he says, "Go Pack!" All right, hey, have a good one, man. So. Seattle, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have our share of struggles. We've seen even when our defense was playing fantastic in the NFC Championship game that we had to play out there, our offense struggled to put points up. We had to settle for field goals too much in that game. It was really our offense that gave up that game. All we remember is Tramon Williams or whatever giving up the touchdown at the end to Russell Wilson. But that's not how that game went. We continually were in the red zone and failed to score. I just can't see it. I just can't see the Packers losing to Seattle with all the weapons that they've lost. This is another team. I don't know what you think, but they've got the whole sort of college they've got the whole sort of culture that they do. It's different than the Patriots, but they have this sort of culture that's it's cool or it's fun, you know. And I feel like that's fading us. And Mom, we invited you to the show, so please stop calling me during it, please. She's trying to get me some information. It's actually important, but so at Minnesota, Week 12.
At Minnesota, I don't see that being a win.
Okay.
The teams are, in my mind,
Never mind
those
my
teams are
fingers
so
here.
closely aligned. I think that Minnesota pulls out a win at home against the Packers.
Yeah. Here's what I think.
So I've now got 2 losses.
You've got 2. I've got 3. Right? Because I agreed with your 2, and then I added the. I don't know. We'll have to go back. I mean, we're gonna have to keep track because we're gonna have to own up to these at some point. But we're doing it basically based on the fact that we've got it on video, so we can go back and review the tape and decide who got it best. We can do that week by week too. Fan Talk Friday. But I do want to catch up on a few comments because it is Fan Talk Friday. And Giselle is saying it's going to be one heck of a game going back to the Patriots game. Aaron versus Brady, and I completely agree. I'm really stoked about it, and we talked about that possibility of passing the torch where Aaron Rodgers has his chance to really
Make a statement.
Make a statement that, no, it's not Tom Brady that's the best quarterback. Yes, you can talk about rings, championships, MVPs, and in particular the championships and the Super Bowls that they went to. It's a team game, but the quarterback position, it's a chance for Aaron Rodgers to show it's the best. Fantastic comment, really appreciate it. David, though, does remind us that we have to win Super Bowls to kind of get the monkey off our back in terms of Aaron Rodgers and his, being basically the GOAT. All right? So, yeah, we've both got losses at Minnesota. I think what I was going to say is I think the wild card in that is I would expect us to be completely decimated by injuries. Just by history, I feel like by Week 12, we're going to be missing at least 2, if not 3, important players.
Yeah.
I know that's being negative. I try not to be negative.
Well,
but
I think it's being realistic.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
fact of the matter is that every team in the league has to deal with injuries,
And
especially when you get that far down in the season.
And the other fact is what happens if Kirk Cousins goes down to the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh.
I mean, we had Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, then
Good
my
grief.
loss here suddenly becomes a win.
Becomes a win. Turnabout is fair play also. And then what about this Chicago Bear named Khalil Mack? What if he goes down now? He's been a 99% snap taker. He's played all 16 games in his career. Don't you think maybe the law of averages catches up with him? And
maybe.
He twists an ankle or something, has some nagging injury. So it all can happen, but I've got a loss at Minnesota just because I think I feel best splitting those NFC matchups with teams like the Vikings. All right, Arizona Cardinals now. This is another team that's going to be kind of an uncommon opponent. They've had our number, but they are not the same team.
No, and it's at Lambeau Field, so
At
I've got to
Lambeau
win
Field.
on that
I got to win too. I have to say it. Week 14, Atlanta Falcons. This is at Lambeau, for crying out loud. We finally get to play the Falcons at Lambeau again. We saw them play last night, guys. They still are having their red zone issues. Matt Ryan having trouble getting the ball in the end zone. We saw the last play of the game, 4th and goal. Julio Jones thrown out of bounds again, made the catch. I think he made the catch. But what do you think about the Falcons? This is a good team with a lot of weapons.
Yeah, I think the team has a lot of weapons, and I think if they get in a rhythm, this could be a very scary game. That said, with it at Lambeau, I'm going to mark that as a win for the Packers.
I have that a win, hands down. I think we beat them handily. They're not the same team. I don't think the Julio Jones kind of controversy that came along. I think is going to make. I think they may be kind of. Matt Ryan's only 2 years removed from an MVP, but he did not look good. Part of that is we're seeing trends. This may happen to the Packers too. Teams are withholding those elite players to keep them safe,
right.
But then their offenses are having a little bit of trouble. They've got to spin their wheels a little bit to get going. But I've got that as a win. At Chicago Bears, then Week 15.
At Soldier Field, it's going to be a big one, and you never downplay that rivalry because anything can happen. Still, I don't think that Mitch Trubisky and the offense is going to have enough to outscore Aaron and company. So I think that's a win for the Packers.
Yeah, I wish I could see the future because Mitch Trubisky didn't play much in the preseason, and I don't want to get into the analysis of this coming game either again, but I don't. again, if Trubisky were to turn into some kind of world beater, they brought in, Allen Robinson, they brought in Burton, they brought in some guys around him. If he gets in rhythm, he could be good, but it's the defense that I think is going to keep them in games. The big question to me on the Chicago Bears is, are they playing for a possible playoff spot at that point? Are they that good? Is their defense good enough? I mean, they were a 5-11 team last year. I'm expecting, you saw the podcast, I'm expecting them, the signing of Khalil Mack apparently, according to the statisticians, gives them basically 1.7 wins. Like, that one player is worth almost 2 wins in the minds of people, which I think might actually be the case, but still, that's a total of 7. You're talking a 7-8 win team. I think they may actually surprise people and be out of it. But I do think if their defense comes together and Trubisky plays well, they may be sort of maybe vying and in the realm of that wild card spot, but I don't see them being that good. At Chicago, I almost want to put this down just to hedge my bet that we might falter against the Bears. We've got back-to-back Lambeau Field games. This is December football, and Aaron Rodgers and this Packer team, and Mike McCarthy has this team ready in December. I got to put that down as a win. Week 16 against the Jets. What do you got there?
At the Jets Stadium, I still think that the Jets don't have enough firepower to slow us down. I count that as a win.
I count that as a win too. And then Week 17, of course, this is always in division. Week 17 matchups. Lions at Lambeau Field, and we're going to be playing for things that perhaps matter at that point. What do you got there?
Well, I don't really expect at that stage in the season that the Lions are in the playoff race. So I don't think they have a whole lot to play for at that point, and it's at Lambeau. I'm going to mark that as a win.
I think this is the first kind of downer Week 17 NFC North matchup in a long time.
Yeah.
These things have mattered so much.
Oh, yeah, it's come down to that last game.
Yeah, I've given the league a lot of credit for setting it up that way
Yeah.
when they did, because it has mattered, especially in the North. I don't know how it's worked out for all the other divisions, but I think this is the letdown year where we go ahead, we do our business, and Detroit. Now again, Detroit feels like they've got a new lease on life. They're hoping to have a running game is one of the things they've really worked on. So let's go ahead and count where your losses are at. And
So I've got a loss at Minnesota and
did I say
at LA Rams.
Okay. And
So
I've got
a
Rams.
14-2 season, which again,
And at Detroit early, I had us faltering, I believe. We'll double check, but yeah. Or no, I had at Minnesota. Yeah, I had at Minnesota. So I think I've got 13-3.
13-3 is where I thought they would end up, but just looking through, I ended up only picking 2 losses. So
yeah, and you look
I've
at
got a 14-2.
Yep, anything can happen. Of course, we have a game where we overlook somebody or whatever, and that can change. And that's a lot of wins for a team that's facing the roughest schedule in the league in the toughest conference in the league. And the NFC is head and shoulders above the AFC. I think right now we had a backup. Nick Foles won the Super Bowl over the Patriots. He's not. I mean, if you saw him last night, he is no world beater. Hey, Lindsay is here. Patrick is here. Patrick has got us. Throw up your predictions right now. Patrick says 12-4. And feel free to throw in who your losses are too. Lindsay says, hi, Patrick. We always drop a weird one, and I do. I kind of look for that one. One of the things, what game could that be? We could talk about Washington.
Redskins
Buffalo.
is my weird one.
That's the weird one.
We should not drop that game, but
Yep. If Miami was down in Florida, that would be the one I'd have circled for that. Seattle's another one that I think we could drop, although it wouldn't be considered weird. Cardinals would be a good one for that.
Tim's got 11-5.
Tim, 11-5. Okay. Yep. And I can see that. And that's still, we get over that 10 win.
Oh, sure.
We're going to be
into
the
the playoffs
Yep,
and make the run.
But we've of course talked in recent years about how important it is to have those home games. So the season kicks off Sunday night, 7:20 Central, 8:20 our time. It's going to be a late one, but we will definitely be watching. I'll try to go live at halftime as well. On the fan page. David is here. Good to see you. What is your prediction for the season? We've got some pretty high expectations. I mean, both of us have us. This is higher than I usually like to. I like to hedge my bet a little bit. But how about Packers versus Bears opening up this season? What do you think is going to happen on Sunday night?
Well, as we talked about early in the show, I think the fact that we have such outstanding offensive tackles. I don't see Khalil Mack as having as big an impact as probably Bears fans hope that he will have.
Yeah.
I think they're excited about that addition, and they should be because it improves their defense.
David's got us at 12-4 as well.
Okay. So I think I think Mack will get some pressures on Aaron, but I don't really see him having a great impact on this game. The Bears' defense as a whole is very good, so I think that they'll probably have success against our offense as we kind of shake the rust off. But I think down the stretch we'll start getting some rhythm and start pulling away from them.
Talking about the offense.
Yeah.
I think it may take a little bit for the offense to get going. One thing that I would be disappointed in right now is the fact that Aaron Jones can't play this game. I think these first two games, these are critical NFC North matchups. These are the ones at Lambeau that you really have to have. And Aaron Jones, I was incredibly disappointed in him being suspended for the reason he was, because it was very, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And the fact that, guys like us, we get up in front of camera, we stood up for the guy saying, you're not going to have any problems out of this kid. He's a military kid. He's going to be good. But I think the offense, we're seeing a trend. We saw it last year with the Packers. Week 1 against Seattle, we couldn't score in the entire first half. We could not find a rhythm. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that case necessarily, but we saw last night two high-powered offenses that lean on quarterback play in the Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons, both of which struggling. I mean, that was a 18-12 final score in that game, if I'm remembering right. And there were a lot of field goals kicked, a lot of red zone issues. Again, I think the Packers are better than both of those teams offensively, and I think Jimmy Graham could come on earlier rather than later. But I do think we should kind of temper our enthusiasm in terms of it might take a little bit of time for this offense to get going.
I kind of expect the early on scripted plays to be fairly successful. I think we'll score pretty early, and then as we kind of slip into our offense, maybe stagnate a little bit. You know how you have several good plays, and then all of a sudden a bad play on a third down, someone drops a ball.
Yeah, and McCarthy starts backing off the aggression on the play calling. Yeah. I think Aaron Rodgers definitely is going to get this one done, and I suspect, if I was going to go right off the bat, I would expect we score, in the upper 20s. I would, right around that 28 is probably where I would put us. But again, in the middle there, we're not going to have Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams, I think, is going to get called upon to some extent for pass protection. He's good at that. I think Mercedes Lewis is going to be critical for pass protection in this game. But the team is going to want to be able to run the ball, and if we can get some drop plays going, maybe we do get short passing to Jimmy Graham started early. We can have some draw plays coming off the left side, run away from Mack. I mean, he can only handle one side of the field. It's one of the things I talked about when the Chicago Bears gave up what they gave up for Khalil Mack. They didn't get a quarterback. They didn't get a guy. Number one, he's not going to play every snap on his side, and number two, he can only play one side of the field. The quarterback affects every corner of the field. Every inch of the field is affected by the quarterback. Right. So I think we can run away from him. I think we should to some extent, but again, remember the key is if Brian Bulaga matches up and is having a good game against Khalil Mack, all of that's on. I don't think we need to worry about that. But I'm just not quite ready to be sure that Brian Bulaga is the same as he was the last time that that he and Khalil Mack clashed. That and the fact that I would be stunting Khalil Mack and trying to get him matched up against McCray with a little bit of crossing action and stuff like that too. I think it would behoove the Bears to be considering that, and plus it's a shorter distance than to the quarterback. So I think our offense takes off late. I think maybe in the I don't know what the camera is doing right there, but it's throttling down for some reason. But at any rate, we got to close the show here pretty soon anyway. But I think we'll score 28 when all's said and done. I don't think the Bears are going to do that. Our defense, I think, comes out and rattles Mitch Trubisky. And I think that they may score 14 or less. I think Jeff had us winning by 14. I'm going to say 28-14, which would be right along the lines of what he said. He's got Jeff in our community's own Jeff, by the way, has the Packers getting a couple picks in this one and winning by 14. So what are your picks? I see a few of them have come up.
I
Rick
would say
better late than never.
I would say 27. I also think that Trubisky is not ready to be unstoppable. by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that's going to factor into it. I also have the Packers or the Bears with 14 points, so I've got 27-14.
So okay, well, we're very close on that one. We didn't converse about.
It looks like
this
Rick's
ahead
got
of time.
24-14.
24-14. All right, and I think this Packers team, if they get going earlier, then I'm thinking, they could put up a serious amount of points. We've seen them,
Well,
be
we
able
saw
to.
them last season
Yeah,
at
and-
Lambeau.
Yeah, and if the especially if our defense was we saw against the the second preseason game, if our defense puts us in position to score quickly, gives us some back-to-back series, or itself scores, then we scored 51 points. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with that. All right, guys, and let's see if we've got any. Tim is up here. Special teams could bite us in the butt, and that is the one thing we have yet to talk about. I am concerned about special. I think our coverage will be okay. I am concerned about our return group. We seem to drop a punt or a kick of some kind every single contest. I don't know why, but we do. And I do think if there's one problem I think we might have, I think it might be on special teams too. Quickly, David's got us winning 35-17. Patrick, how about another 45-10? I like that.
I'd be
idea
all right
a
with that.
lot. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's a great way to kick off a 100th season. I know we can get some thumbs up for that one. But yeah. Well, all right, I guess it's about time for us to go ahead and close it up. This has been our first sort of live show where we've brought more of you guys on. It's been great to talk to you guys. We've got some things coming up. We've got some T-shirts we're going to develop here, hopefully pretty soon. We'll be doing more of the live shows. Continue to go on Wednesdays, and that'll do it. So hey guys,
That's a
we'll talk to you
wrap.
again later, and go Pack go.